If you've got yourself an original Nintendo Game Boy and it won't switch on even when you've got batteries in there, don't despair. It's probably quite easy to bring it back to life. Hi and welcome back to the shed. I'm Joe Bleeps, and in this video we'll be taking a look at how to bring a Nintendo Game Boy back to life. If you've ever got hold of a beautiful bit of hardware like this, put some batteries in, switched it on and found out that it no longer works, don't despair. It might need just a simple fix on the battery contact. Let's take a look. All you need to do is take a look at the battery contacts inside. In most cases, because these consoles are so old, chances are whoever had it in the past has left some batteries in there and those batteries have corroded, and you can see here on these contacts there's a lot of corrosion from the battery sitting on there, and what that will do is it will provide a barrier between the metal and the tip of the battery that should be conducting the electricity through your Game Boy. So what we need to do is try and remove the corrosion from these contacts and then give it another go. Leakage from the batteries is most likely going to be alkaline. Most commonly used batteries now are alkaline. So what we need to do is combat that with some acid, nothing too dramatic, just a little bit of vinegar. In my case, I've got some of this cider vinegar that I've used, but there's all sorts of different ones. White vinegar's common. I just hate the smell of it, but that's really effective too. As long as it's something that will combat the alkali, it should be fine, but certainly found this cider vinegar to be quite useful. All I've got is a cotton bud. I'm going to dip that into my vinegar and put it onto the contacts. You can slosh on as much as you like, as long as you don't end up with it all flooding through inside the Game Boy, and you might need to leave it a little while to start working its magic. Alternatively, what you could do is open up the Game Boy itself, and these contact points are actually quite easy to remove, so you could take those out once you've dismantled the Game Boy, clean those up, and they'll do a much neater job without having to get anything on the rest of your console. But as it stands, hopefully this will be just quite a quick fix today. You've got to watch for the point where the springs that we've got here actually touch the contact. A lot of the time you can have a bit of corrosion in between the spring and the point, so the battery and the spring might be making contact but not with the metal plate at the bottom, and in this case it looks like there's been a whole set of batteries leaking here because there is corrosion on every single point. Usually you'll see it on just one, and of course all it takes is one weak link for a circuit to fail, so you've got to make sure that every single one of these works. Now, while you can use a blade to scrape away the corrosion afterwards, you might want to just start off with some plastic because you don't want to be physically scratching your Game Boy console too much. So that's been on there for a little while now, and I can see already a lot of the metal has been exposed again. I'm using just a plastic spudger to scrape away any of the excess corrosion that's on the surface, but in particular the points where the tips of the batteries touch. And that all seems to be cleaning up quite nicely. Also, the idea of having the flat spudger is quite useful because you can get into this gap between the connector and the spring. So that one seems to have cleaned up quite well. This one had no problems at all. The main one there had no problems. Looking at the bottom, there was quite a lot of corrosion on there. There was quite a bit of corrosion on that point, and I can just literally scrape all that off with the spudger. You could do this with a knife, as I say, but it will scratch the metal, and these are actually plated, so if you go too hard you'll end up removing the plating from that, which isn't necessarily what you want to be doing. And that should pretty much do it. Last little cleanup, I'll grab a toothbrush and just scrub into all the gaps where I can. And that should soak up a little bit of the vinegar as well. That has come up much better than it was before. In just a few short minutes, most of that corrosion is gone. Looking at the top there, clean that up too. Get all that scrubbed out, and once that's dried off, so you can use the cotton buds again, or in my case I'm using a bit of kitchen roll just to soak up any excess vinegar that might have spread around. I didn't use a ton of it in the first place, so it shouldn't be much of an issue. Just dry that all off, and I'll go back to my batteries. We'll pop those in. Also, before you even do any of this, make sure you've got a fresh set of batteries in. Try them on something else first and make sure they're okay. So they are all in, and let's see what happens. There we go. Power light comes on, and we've got power to our Game Boy. I'm seeing now I've got issues with my screen display, but that is something for another video. But in the meantime, we'll leave it there. Brought back from the dead, a beautiful bit of classic gaming hardware. Now, of course, it's not just the battery contacts that can go wrong with the Game Boy. There's a whole load of other things that may be at fault, but certainly that issue with battery leakage on the contact is one of the most common, and thankfully one of the easiest to fix. I love watching the magic of the vinegar just dissolving that corrosion before my eyes and scrubbing it up and having it coming up nice and shiny. It's really satisfying. And then, of course, when you switch on and it works, it's epic. Definitely worth a try. So if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I hope you enjoyed it. If you're one of the old faithful who keep coming back, I very much appreciate it and thank you. If you like this sort of thing, please do think about subscribing, leave a thumbs up, leave a comment. I love engaging with you all in the chat, and just keep sharing my stuff. It's awesome seeing more people getting to watch what I'm putting out there. This is Joe Bleeps signing off from the shed, and I will see you next time. Bye.